Last week I announced that we would have Nick and Mark here for our special music, and I got a text yesterday morning that Mark was in Las Vegas. He travels for his work. He had an accident, and Nick was flying out to be with him. So Fern and I and Nancy got together and recreated the service a little bit. And fortunately, we have some videos of B.A. in our files. For those of you that don't know who B.A. was, he was the music director, conductor here for about 6 months between tours. He's a Broadway music director, conductor, and he has been traveling for the past 3 years with the Disney show Aladdin. He right now is in New Zealand with the tour. And he gives us permission to use these videos of him whenever we need them. So who you're going to see now is B.A. Huffman doing a video for us.
Good morning, Unity of Merritt Island. I have a great song for you this morning called Wonderful World. It's not the one that you think you know. This is a song written by Jan Garrett and J.D. Martin, who are Posse Award-winning artists that I met a couple of years ago down in Tampa. What if you knew that you were beautiful? What if your smile was wild and free? What if you knew that you could take your time and everything would work out fine? What a wonderful, wonderful world this could be. What if every step of the journey was just as sweet as the final prize? What if you lost the map but you found the key? What if your life was so much fun you didn't need to try and get it all done? What a wonderful, wonderful world this could be. So give it a season without a doubt. Give it a reason to all work out. Give it a chance, give it some time, give it your best. Give it a rest. What if the great big picture suddenly dawned on everybody bright and clear? What if we gave ourselves a break and let our differences be? If we could just sit still a minute, enjoy the human race and not have to win it. What a wonderful, wonderful world this could be. What a wonderful, wonderful world this could be. So give it a season without a doubt. Give it a reason to all work out. Give it a chance, give it some time, give it your best. Give it a rest. What if the great big picture suddenly dawned on everybody bright and clear? What if we gave ourselves a break and let our differences be? If we could just sit still a minute, enjoy the human race and not have to wonderful world this could be. Sing it with me now. What a wonderful, wonderful world this could be.
Yeah, we had that for 6 months here. And what I really love in that song is the line, just sit still a minute and enjoy the human race and don't try to win it. I love that. Kevin was flying home from a business trip. And as he was sitting on the plane, the flight attendants came on and said, we're delaying cabin service. We're going to have a few bumps, so, we'll just put service off for a while. I've been on those planes, have you? Yeah. Well, a little later they came in and said, check your seat belts, stow your table, your items under the seat. We're going to be hitting a little turbulence. And Kevin looked out the window and he saw these storm clouds forming, and then he saw the thunder and the lightning, and then he watched everyone start to get that fear on their faces. Some people, he said, he knew they were praying, all except this one little girl on the aisle across from him. She was all by herself, and she was engaged in her iPad. She was just so peaceful, so calm. The storm wasn't even fazing her. And Kevin's going, how could she be so calm when all these adults are just kind of going crazy? The storm continued. The plane was being tossed around like a toy. And after a while, it started to calm down. And I've been on those flights. I'm sure most of you have, too. We hit them once in a while. As soon as that plane landed, people couldn't wait to get off. And again, Kevin watched this little girl as she just calmly sat there waiting as everyone else exited. So he kind of hung back because he was curious. And he went to her after and he said, wow, you were so brave during that storm. And here you are all alone. And she looked at him and said, oh, I'm not alone. My daddy's here. He's taken me home. He's the pilot. So today's talk is trust. And I want to know how much you trust. Grab it. I missed. Grab it. Throw it. Throw it. Keep throwing it. Throw it for somebody to catch. Keep throwing it. Do you trust? Do you trust somebody to catch it? Does it matter if they miss it? Throw it. Come on. Where is it? See, sometimes we lose our trust. Keep going. Get it up in the air. Throw it. Notice that it's lighting up. And I'll catch it the last time. I'll try. Thank you. So what does trust mean? Trust is a sureness. It's a certainty. So as that ball went around, we weren't sure anybody was going to catch it. Some of us missed. And sometimes we do, don't we? But it's a certainty that everything is going to be all right. And that I'm never alone. Even in life's storms. Even when I feel like I'm alone. When I feel like the whole world is crashing around me. Where do I turn? Do I turn to my pilot? Do I trust my pilot? The Bible uses the word Father a lot for God. Jesus talked to God as Father, Abba. And why that word was used is Father is considered our protector, right? Our comforter, somebody that's always there, somebody we put our trust in. Dan, do you have that photo? Someone that watches over us at all times. I love this picture. I have a plan. Do you trust me, God? You know, even when I'm in those storms, even when I can't figure it out. Our Wednesday morning class is called I, individual I, not EYE, but I of the storm. And it's about inner and outer conflict. It helps us look at that nothing and no one is against me. Because if I think they are, I need to change how I'm seeing it. So what if? What if I viewed all the turbulence in life as an opportunity to move toward my higher good instead of a problem to be solved? What happens when there's turbulence? What happens when your life is being tossed about? Where do I go? Remember, a problem cannot be solved from the level of the problem. All heard that, right? So I have to get out of the level of the problem. Do I always do it? No. Sometimes I get into my human stuff. But just like we didn't catch that ball every single time, sometimes I don't catch the ball. Sometimes I forget. And when we forget who we are, when we forget to trust, instead of beating ourselves up, we pick that ball off the floor and we throw it again. And I love that ball lit up because when I remember to pick myself up again, I light up again. When I can do that, when I can remember that storms are opportunities put in front of me for me to grow, to learn from, to rise higher from, I move from being a victim to becoming empowered. I move from feeling helpless to being able to see through those storm clouds in my life. And when I can see through those clouds, they kind of break away a little bit. And I can see that next step I'm supposed to take. Maybe it's the next awareness. Maybe it's the next truth principle I'm supposed to practice. But there's a glimmer, and I get to see that step, and then I have to take it. So no matter how dark the clouds, no matter how much a storm is tossing me around, do I trust? Do I trust that storm doesn't have to always be there? Do I trust those clouds can break up? Do I trust I have the power to see through them? Because we do. We only have to take that one little step. Doesn't have to be a big one. Just one little step. My father had a saying, and when things got tough, he would go, you just have to pull yourself up by, who knows that, your bootstraps. Those little hooks on the back of the boots, right, Fern? You pull your boots on her with her cowboy boots and her dancing, yeah. You just pull them up. We didn't have a lot as a child, but we never saw ourselves as poor. We never saw ourselves as victims. And I watched my father work really hard. He had an 8th grade education. He and my mother cleared the land. They built the house. In fact, the basement was built after the house was built. They dug it underneath the house. He did all the plumbing, all the wiring, all the heating. He taught himself how to do all this. Everything in our house was done by him. We never had a mortgage, and they never owned a credit card. My grandparents all came from Italy. And so here was someone without an education. But the thing is, if I don't see myself as a victim, if I don't see things going bad as storms, if I've got the motto of just going to pull myself up on my bootstraps and keep going. And keep going. My father was always there. Now, he was quiet, never said much, very stern, and he didn't talk to me because I was a girl. Italian Catholic family, girls they're not top citizens. And sometimes I go to bed crying because he was like that towards me. But in the years as I watched him, I learned so much. And I realized that when the Bible uses the word father, I could almost compare it at times to my father, because sometimes God seemed quiet and distant and far away and stern. It seemed like God never talked to me. And so that sense of being alone. But as I got older, I realized, just like I had realized by my father, that God is always there taking care of me. My father would do anything for his family. We always had food. We always had a roof over our heads. And he worked hours and hours and hours to do that. There's a story of a little boy walking across the bridge with his dad. And it was a bridge kind of going over a fast-running river, and it didn't have any railings on it. So as they were walking, the dad said to the child, "Hold on to my hand in case you slip." And the child looked at his father and said, "Oh no, you hold my hand." And Dad said, "What's the difference?" And the little boy said, "Because if I hold your hand and I slip and I get scared, I'll probably let go of your hand. But if you're holding my hand and I slip, I know you will never let go." That's God in our lives. Know that your hand is always being held. Dan, do you have that picture? This was a picture I used to see as a child. And it brought me such comfort. How many are familiar with this picture? A few of you are, right? Yeah. In Psalms 91:11, Scripture reads, "For he will command his angels concerning you to guard you in all ways." There's always someone there, even when we can't see it. The Bible tells us that angels are messengers of God. In the Old Testament, angels are mentioned 108 times. In the New Testament, 165 times. I've had a lot of experiences from the time I was a child, and yet, I've told you, I'm the biggest doubter in the world. And you can tell me something, and I'm not going to believe it until I prove it myself. You see, Kimberly is visiting here from New Hampshire. I'm going to wave Kimberly. And Kimberly was my roommate in Brazil at the spiritual retreat in Brazil. She has worked with angels for 15 years. I didn't know this woman. They put her in the room with this very bare room together. I mean, primitive living conditions almost. And she's talking to people. She's talking to people. And I'm like, oh my God, I've got one of those in my room. But things started happening. And I remember this, I've told some of you this story, but I watched this red blob come through my window, and I'm closing my eyes, opening my eyes, and it came through the window, and then it went along the wall, over her bed where she was laying, and then it's starting to come the wall towards me, and I'm like, "Kimberly, you know about this stuff. There's a red blob moving along the wall. What is it?" And she goes, "I don't know, it's your red blob." From the experiences that I had on this 2-week retreat, all my doubts about whatever we want to call these other energies, light beings, angels. What is the other word we have for them? Deities? Entities, whatever we want to call them. I don't have any doubt anymore. And then I was able to go back and remember things that happened in my life that got my attention, but I pushed away. I lived in Connecticut. I'm driving through Providence, 5 lanes, terrific snowstorm, bumper to bumper cars off the road everywhere. And the car in front of me started sliding. There was no place for my car to go except to crash. And in that minute, my car was moved between 2 cars in the next lane where there just happened to be a space. I remembered that. I remembered another time in a car in a strange city at night, and I happened to turn the wrong way with traffic coming toward me. And the wheel was turned out of my hands, and I was put back in the right lane. And I can go on and on with all these things I ignored until now. And this is why I brought Kimberly in from New Hampshire to do the work she's doing this week. Trust is knowing that everything is all right, even if I can't see it. Whatever is going on in your life right now, notice how you're approaching it. Notice what you're doing with it. Do you have a trust in something beyond yourself? Because if you don't, you're going to be in that plane being tossed around like a toy. You will be in that storm cloud and you won't find your way out. A life can be chaotic. It can be overwhelming at times. I can scramble like crazy trying to get control. And it feels like all the pieces are falling apart and I pull them back together and they just fall apart again. Have you been there? I have. But if I can surrender, if I can let go, I have watched again and again, my life miraculously rearranges itself. Now, it may not rearrange itself the way I think it should, and that's the big one. That's the big one. But it will shift for my highest good. Every single problem, every single challenge, every person that pushes my button is an opportunity for me to grow. When can I make that decision? When can I stop? When can I stop reacting the way I've always reacted? When can I stop being defensive? When can I realize that nothing is against me? That God is there, and all I have to do is say help. And then not say or designate what that's supposed to look like. Trust takes 3 things. Dan? It takes courage. It takes courage to move beyond my old thinking, my limited beliefs. It takes courage to stop doing it the way I've always done it. It hasn't worked so far, has it? It takes willingness. This is a big one. Can I sit in all that gunk? Can I sit in those storm clouds? And can I be willing to see them open up, maybe not the way I want them to, but the way that's best for me? It's for my higher good. The next one, it takes patience. Now, sometimes I'm in there and a solution is right there in front of me. But a lot of times that solution doesn't show up. And it doesn't show up. And it doesn't show up. And I'm telling you right now, that's when you know you're being called higher. That's when you know you have to connect to something stronger than you. It's when you have to trust and let go of how you've always done it. Let go of being a victim. Trust that inside of you is a strength that you can tap into. Trust that everywhere around you is help. That God, that angels, whatever you want to call, these spiritual beings, they're all there all the time. If I just let go and allow myself to vibrate higher. Courage, you have all three, Dan. Willingness and patience. Are you ready to try being more courageous? Yes. Thank you. Are you ready to be more courageous? Yes. Are you willing to try? Yes. And are you willing to be patient as God shows you the way? I want a yes. Trust is knowing we are never alone. Before I close, I've got one more story for you. There's a Cherokee rite of passage. And the father takes his son into the forest, and he sits them down in a blanket, and he blindfolds the child. And the child is supposed to spend the night there. This is how he becomes a man. He spends the night there until he can feel the sun coming through the blindfold in the morning. Now, the boy can't tell his friends about this because everyone has to come into their manhood on their own. And so he sits there, and it gets dark. He hears noises, the wind rustling. What animal could that be? Could it be somebody else coming to hurt me? And as the night goes on, he cannot take that blindfold off. He can't call for help. And he becomes more and more afraid. But he does it. He sits there because he wants to become a man. And then he feels this warmth on his blindfold. And he knows it's the sun coming through. And he takes it off. And a few feet away is his father, who's been sitting there all night long. You are never alone. I want you to hear that today. Whatever is going on in your life, spend some time alone and feel that connection to God, to Spirit, to angels. You're sitting here today. You're not here today by accident. If you are here today, this is exactly where you're supposed to be. Because deep inside you, you absolutely know this is true. That you're not alone. That there is a God, there is a higher power, there are angels that you can trust. So from today on, I want you to live with this knowing. And the next time you're in those storm clouds, just like that little girl on the plane, remember who your pilot is. Like that little boy crossing the bridge, remember who's holding your hand. And like the young Cherokee boy, remember who's always watching over you. And trust. God bless you.